Welcome dear students. Today we are going to learn about the harvesting, processing, storage and marketing of dry fruits. In many regional diets, nuts and traditional dried fruit, that is, fruit without added sugar, are staple foods. Numerous clinical trials, prospective studies and animal studies have documented positive outcomes following nut ingestion. Importantly, some nuts and dried fruits are among the 50 foods with the highest antioxidant capacity and are also a known source of bioactive compounds, including plant sterols. Nuts and dried fruits contain various macro and micronutrients together that may synergically contribute to modulate specific metabolic diseases such as hypercholesterolemia, hypertension and type 2 diabetes. So, talking about the nuts and dry fruits. A nut is a naturally dried fruit with one, sometimes two, seeds that are detached or free inside the ovary wall and whose ovary walls are very hard, stony or woody at maturity, according to the botanical definition. On the other hand, any large, edible, oily kernel in a hard shell is generally referred to as a nut. Almonds, Brazil nuts, cashews, hazelnuts, macadamia, peanuts, pecans, pine nuts, pistachios and walnuts are all referred to as nuts. Peanuts are often thought as nuts. However, due to their similar nutritional makeup and established cardiovascular health benefits, they are officially classed as legumes. So, talking about the dried fruits. Fresh fruits are turned into dry fruits by a variety of processing methods in order to increase their shelf life. A condensed version of fresh fruits with less moisture content are called as dried fruits. Fruits can be dried in slices, half or whole, such as apricots, berries and grapes, as well as kiwis, mangoes and papayas. They can be readily available all year round in this form, are simple to distribute and store, and are a better option than salty or sugary snacks. Conventional or traditional dried fruits include apples, apricots, currants, dates, figs, peaches, pears, prunes and raisins and their variations. Meanwhile, various kinds of sugar solutions or fruit juice concentrate are frequently infused with fruits including blueberries, cranberries, cherries, strawberries and mangoes before they are dried so that these are not included in the aforementioned category. The term dried fruit encompasses a range of different processing methods. Due to the addition of sulfur dioxide, certain varieties of dried fruits have brighter colors when compared to naturally sun-dried fruits. Fresh fruits are considered very perishable food items since they contain more than 80% moisture. Fresh fruits lose their quality more quickly and losses of between 30% and 50% are estimated to have occurred in fruits from the farm gate to the consumer. Drying is one post-harvest method that can be used to minimize these losses. The most popular and traditional method for prolonging the shelf life and maintaining fruit quality is drying, which allows the product to be available all year round rather than simply during harvest. Dried fruits stand out as practical foods that satisfy a variety of requirements for a modern, healthy lifestyle. Fruits can have their water naturally evaporated by sun drying or artificially by utilizing several kinds of dehydrators or dryers. Dried fruits are also a concentrated source of nutrients and have a lower moisture content than fresh fruits. Because dried fruits include a variety of vital nutrients, antioxidants and phytochemicals that promote good health, they are advised as healthy and beneficial snacks to be eaten on a daily basis. Despite their tendency to be pricey, dried fruits become affordable when one considers their nutritional value and health advantages. Fruits can be dried using both traditional sun or shade drying methods or cutting-edge techniques such as microwave, freeze drying or hybrid drying techniques. While sophisticated drying procedures take less time and preserve fruit quality, conventional methods are slow and may result in a product of lower quality. Dried fruits have less water activity, which lowers the likelihood of microbial growth. Nonetheless, when fruits are dried in the open or in unsanitary conditions, microbes are linked to them and might infect consumers. The best dried items are made from high quality fruits. Select fruit that is firm, completely ripe and hefty relative to its size. Because fruit that has been prepared for drying is so delicate, handle it carefully and process it right away. The International Nut and Dried Fruit Council (INC) in its 2021-2022 edition of its statistical yearbook reported that the global tree nut production, kernel basis excluding pistachios in shell, has risen steadily over the last decade, reaching over 5.1 million metric tons in 2021 to 2022, down 6% from the previous season's record, but 50% higher than 10 years before. Almonds and walnuts contributed for 32% and 19% of global production respectively, followed by cashews 17%, pistachios 15% and hazelnuts 11%. Pecans, macadamias, pine nuts and Brazil nuts are accounted for the remaining 6%. Similarly, tree nut exports have shown an upward trend with an average annual growth rate of 99700 metric tons, reaching record 3 million metric tons by 2020. Global consumption estimated at 5.2 million metric tons increased at an average rate of 210,800 metric tons per year. Over the last decade, world dried fruit production has shown a positive trend amounting to about 3.1 million metric tons in 2021 to 2022. Dried grapes such as raisins, sultanas and currants represented 43% of total share. Table dates accounted for the following: 36%, prunes 6%, dried apricots 5%, dried cranberries 5% and figs 5%, added to the remaining 21%. Dried fruit exports reached around 2.8 million metric tons in 2020, expanding at an average rate of around 73100 metric tons each year. Total consumption amounted to 3 million metric tons and rose at an average of 63900 metric tons per year throughout the previous 10 years. So now we are going to talk about the harvesting of nuts. When almonds are first harvested, the hulls of around 95% of the nuts have split open, revealing the almond inside the shell. Using a rubber mallet designed for the purpose or striking the larger branches with a pole are the most effective ways to knock almonds off trees. It is a good idea to spread a tarp beneath the tree to help catch the falling nuts. After harvest, the hulls are promptly removed from the nuts in the home orchard. Hull removal is best done by hand. When the packing tissue or the membrane separating the kernel halves turns completely brown, walnuts are deemed mature. The kernels are at their best quality and lightest color at this point. Harvesting usually has to wait until the husk starts to separate from the nut. Using a long sturdy pole, the branches and short sprouts of the walnut tree are stroked to knock the nuts off. One just needs a pole for small trees. For larger trees, a long pole with a huge hook attached to one end will increase the shaking effect. Harvested walnuts are picked up immediately. Nuts on the ground are particularly vulnerable to ants, infestation, discolored kernels, and mold infections. The first sign that pistachio kernels are mature and nearing harvest is when the hulls covering the nuts change from green to reddish color. Pistachios are also harvested with a sturdy pole. Soon after harvest, hulls are removed. After harvest, if the hulls are left on the nuts for a long time, it can promote staining of the shell and kernel and even the growth of the mold. The chestnuts on a tree do not mature all at one time, but ripen over 10 to 30-day period. Some years, depending upon chestnut variety and weather conditions, it may take as long as 5 weeks for an entire crop to mature. Chestnuts naturally fall from the tree as they get older. A ripe nut's hull will often split open and fall off the nut. After harvesting and hulling, all the nuts except chestnuts need to be dried properly to reduce kernel moisture. Undried or improperly dried nuts are more likely to develop molds and a disagreeable flavor, that is rancidity, and have a shorter storage life. So now we are going to discuss about the preparation of fresh fruit for drying purposes. Just before drying, every fruit is given a gentle wash in cold water to get rid of any dirt, bacteria or insects. Fruit should not be prolongedly soaked, since this might lead to nutrient loss and waterlogging, which lengthens the drying period. Fruits are usually peeled with stems removed. Some fruits, such as apples and peaches, can be allowed to retain their peels, but when the fruit dries, the peels may turn bitter or discolored. Fruits are cut into halves, quarters or slices after pitting. Any soft or unhealthy areas are cut off. 5 major reasons for treating foods before drying are to preserve color and flavor, minimize nutrient loss, stop decomposition by enzyme action, ensure more even drying, extend storage life. So now we are going to discuss the various pretreatment methods for drying fruits. Fruits can be pretreated using a variety of techniques. Some of these are ascorbic acid or citric acid dips. Dips of ascorbic and citric acids are frequently used to pretreat fruits. When chopped and exposed to air, these prevent fruits like apricots, pears, apples and peaches from browning. The ascorbic acid dip also raises the dry fruit's vitamin C level. So number 2 is the salt solution dip. The salt dip not only aids in water removal but also helps preserve the fruit by creating an environment that is less favorable for the growth of spoilage microorganisms. This can result in improved texture, flavor and overall quality of the dried fruit. So talking about the syrup blanching. The syrup or sugar solution blanching is used to achieve specific objectives, including enzyme inactivation, color preservation and overall quality improvement. Similar to the salt dip process, syrup blanching involves osmotic dehydration. Talking about the dip in honey. Light colored fruit can be effectively protected from browning and softening by using a honey dip treatment. As soon as the fruit is sliced, it is dipped into the honey mixture and soaked for about 5 minutes and then carefully drained. There will be a faint honey flavor in the dried fruit. Moreover, honey has natural preservative properties due to its low water activity, acidic pH and the presence of compounds that inhibit the growth of microorganisms. Talking about sulfiting. Fruit oxidation and browning can be effectively delayed by using sulfur dioxide treatments such as sulfiting or sulfuring. Fruit shelf life and flavor may also get better. Sulfur compounds are used to cure almost all commercially produced light colored fruits, including dried pears, apricots and apples. However, some people have severe allergic responses to sulfur compounds. They should not eat or work with dried fruit pretreated with sulfur or sulfide compounds. Now talking about the various drying methods for drying fresh fruits. The most traditional method for food preservation, drying, lowers the food's water activity, leading to decreased microbe proliferation. By blocking the growth of bacteria and other moisture-driven reactions that lead to deterioration, drying preserves the natural value and other quantitative features of the original product. The fresh fruit can be dried in its complete form, such as grapes, apricots, berries, or in slices such as kiwis, papayas and mangoes, or in halves such as apricot, peach and plums. So, the various drying methods are shade drying. When using the shade drying method, the fruit is first well cleaned before being spread out onto mesh trays, which are then placed inside a room and allowed to dry completely in the shade. This process operates at a temperature of roughly 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. When using the shade drying method, it takes longer and requires more effort to dry the produce than when using the solar drying method. A benefit of shade drying over sun drying is the ability to stop photochemical reactions such as oxidation and the destruction of light sensitive substances. So, talking about the solar or sun drying, this is among the earliest and most conventional techniques for drying a substance, since it heats the material directly with solar radiation. To get the correct moisture content, the product is first spread out onto trays or any other clean surface and allowed to dry until the desired level is reached. By turning the fruit pieces frequently throughout the drying process, you can ensure that they are evenly exposed to solar radiation from all sides, which improves drying efficacy and dries the material entirely. However, using the sun drying method takes a long time and increases the possibility of contamination by bacteria. Now, we are going to discuss about the osmotic dehydration. This procedure involves submerging the material in a solution with a higher concentration, that is a hypertonic solution, in order to remove unbound moisture from it. High solubility materials should be utilized to prepare these solutions. Examples of such materials are sugars and regular salt, used to season fruits and vegetables respectively. By submerging the product in the processing tank, solutes and water are transferred between the product and the solution. High intensity electric field pulses, pressure changes and a number of additional pretreatments such as freezing, supercritical carbon dioxide treatment and blanching can all be used to speed up the diffusion process. To extend the shelf life of a product that has undergone osmotic dehydration, post-treatment is necessary. So, talking about the modern drying methods for fruits. The first one is the freeze drying. One type of drying that is included in freeze drying is applying a strong vacuum to a frozen product. The process of freeze drying involves first freezing the product and then lowering the ambient pressure to cause the frozen water in the fruit to instantly convert from solid to the gas phase or from ice to vapor. Fruits that have been freeze dried have different physical characteristics than fruits that have been heat dried. Fruits maintain most of their color, nutrients and shape when they are freeze dried, which preserves the quality of the finished product. Furthermore, it is discovered that the loss of bioactive substances such as flavonoids, flavonols, phenols and catechins in freeze drying samples is negligible. Talking about the vacuum drying. By using these techniques, moisture in the product is eliminated by replacing the air with a vacuum. Vacuum is used to extract the water vapor from the drying vessel and lower the saturation vapor pressure at a specific temperature. Consequently, a lower temperature is used to dry the material during vacuum drying. In vacuum drying, heat is transferred either by radiation or conduction. Low drying temperatures are used during vacuum drying, which guarantees a more beneficial outcome for the food ingredient being dried. So, now we are going to discuss the tunnel drying method. One kind of continuous drying method is tunnel drying. In the tunnel dryer, trays on trolleys pass through an insulated tunnel that receive heat and continuously expels vapors. Tunnel dryers have several benefits which make them most employed in industrial settings. Fruits such as figs, apricots, peaches, dates, apples, pears and many more can be dried using tunnel drying in liquid, chunk and puree form. Microwave drying. In this type of drying, electrical energy is used, with the most common frequency being used is 2450 MHz. Because microwave heating involves less processing time and volumetric heating, it simply necessitates a reasonably low energy usage. As microwaves cannot fully dry a product, this drying method is usually used in conjunction with forced air or vacuum to increase the efficiency of the microwave process. So, talking about the tray drying, products can be dried in large quantities using the straightforward tray drying method. The product is arranged on trays and then sorted in a drying chamber in this form of drying. The product's moisture is removed via forced convection heating during tray drying. Dried fruits like raisins, prunes, apricots are dried using a tray dryer. Because of the even dispersion of air across the trays, tray drying is successful. So, talking about hybrid drying. In order to reduce the impact of drying on the product quality, hybrid drying procedures have become more and more popular. To achieve the required moisture content, the hybrid drying approach combines two or more stages of drying and several mechanisms of heat transmission. Hybrid drying procedures have shown to be more advantageous in terms of enhancing product quality and lowering the likelihood of product degradation. Numerous combinations such as combining fluidized bed drying with microwave drying have been studied and have been shown to improve drying uniformly. Now, talking about the storage of dried fruits. Food safety is a global concern and a top priority for public health. Generally speaking, dried fruits and fruit products are eaten without further processing, such as heating or any other heat treatment that eliminates or lowers the amount of microorganisms. Furthermore, fruit drying outside or in unclean settings may increase the risk of microbial infection. Different types of microorganisms such as Salmonella, Shigella, coliforms, fungi and yeast can be present in dried fruits. Although drying or dehydration is a process that lowers the microbial count of dried fruits, the extent of reduction in microbial flora depends upon the type of the fruit and the severity of the treatment. Drying figs at a temperature of 54 to 60 degrees Celsius reduces the growth of yeast, but it does not eliminate the yeast count for figs. In contrast, if prunes are dried at a temperature of 70 to 80 degrees Celsius, commercial sterility can be achieved. Foods that collect water when packaged or kept in wet environments are also susceptible to the growth of molds. Mycotoxins are metabolites of filamentous fungi that have detrimental effects on animals and in some circumstances on humans. Mycotoxin contamination of dried fruits may start with the fungal contamination on the trees, increases during the harvesting and sun drying and continue to accumulate during storage because of revetting and improper conditions. Dried fruits to be stored must be of high quality, free of molds, insects and off odors, and dried a safe moisture level whenever possible. During storage, insects can be controlled with the use of fumigation, radiation and good sanitary practices, while mold growth is best controlled with safe moisture level storage. Dried fruits must also be stored in structures or containers that are moisture proof and amenable to fumigation treatment. Generally, if the moisture content of the stored crop exceeds 13 to 18%, mycotoxin formation may occur. The most prevalent kind of deterioration that occurs during room temperature storage is mold growth. Dried food should be stored in a cool, dry and dark place. The shelf life increases with decreased temperature in the storage region. Since light fades fruits and vegetables and lowers their vitamin A and C concentrations, dark locations are preferable. The storage area need not be fancy. A dark, unheated closet or drawer works fine. Metal containers have the advantage of keeping their contents in darkness. Glass or plastic containers can be covered with a cardboard box, a barrel or black plastic to keep light out. Many people store dried fruits in refrigerator or freezer, which keeps quality high. The moisture content of almonds, pistachios and walnuts at harvest ranges between 5 and 15%, 40 and 50% and 10 and 30%, fresh weight basis respectively. To improve stability and ensure the safety of the nuts, they should be dried to 5 to 8% moisture. Water activity of 0.50 to 0.65. Before being processed and ready for the market, dried nuts are often kept for a few weeks or up to 14 months in bins, silos or other bulk storage facilities. Sorting before cold storage to remove defective nuts, leaves, twigs and other foreign materials minimizes losses during cold storage. To reduce deterioration during storage, ideal storage temperatures of 10 degrees Celsius or below and relative humidity less than 65% must be kept. During the storage time, bug protection is also crucial. The marketing activities involves not only the function of buying and selling, but also the preparation of produce for marketing such as assembling, packaging, transportation, grading, storage, processing and retail. To preserve their quality and safety, nuts should be transported in refrigerated trucks or maritime containers that are well controlled with an ideal temperature and relative humidity ranges. The target consumers for dry fruits include sweet shops, milkshake outlets, restaurants, supermarkets, baking industry, online grocery stores, local grocery stores, catering services. Farmers typically sell dry fruits through various channels, depending on the scale of their operations, local market conditions and their marketing strategies. Here are some common ways in which farmers may sell their dry fruits. Number 1, farmers markets. Many farmers participate in local farmers markets where they can directly sell their produce to consumers. Farmers markets provide a direct connection between farmers and consumers, allowing farmers to showcase and sell a variety of products, including dry fruits. Talking about the on-farm sales, some farmers sell their dry fruits directly from their farms. This can involve setting up a farm stand, opening the farm to visitors or having a designated area where customers can purchase the products directly from the source. The next one is the cooperative or collective sales. Farmers may join or form cooperatives or collectives to collectively market and sell their dry fruits. This can provide them with increasing bargaining power, access to shared resources and ability to reach larger markets. Talking about the local retailers and grocers, farmers may establish partnerships with local retailers, grocery stores or specialty shops to sell their dry fruits. This allows them to reach a broader consumer base without directly managing retail operations. So next is the community supported agriculture, CSA. Some farmers participate in CSA programs where consumers subscribe to receive regular shipments of farm products, including dry fruits. This model provides farmers with a steady customer base and helps consumers access fresh and local produce. The next is the online platforms. With the rise of e-commerce, farmers can sell their dry fruits through online platforms. This may involve setting up their own online store, participating in agricultural marketplaces or collaborating with online retailers. Talking about the distributors and wholesalers. Large-scale farmers may sell their dry fruits to distributors or wholesalers who in turn supply retail outlets, supermarkets or food service businesses. Specialty or niche markets. Some farmers focus on niche markets such as organic or specialty products. They may sell their dry fruits to specialty stores, health food shops or directly to consumers interested in specific attributes like organic, locally sourced or sustainably produced products. The specific approach chosen by farmers depends on factors such as the type of dry fruits produced, the target market, available resources and the overall business strategy. Successful marketing often involves a combination of these channels to maximize exposure and sales opportunities. Thank you for joining today's lecture. I hope you found it informative.